Hey, it's Aaron, the Metal Theologian. So I've been sort of a weird place listening to records lately, man. I've kind of been listening to a lot of music actually, but I haven't been like wanting to talk about it a lot. I've sort of been taking it in and like, and it's fun because of that I feel like we're listening to a lot of mediocre stuff. But I don't know if it's been so much mediocre stuff as much as stuff I haven't really come up with anything interesting to say about. I do think it's mediocre stuff for the most part. Like, this is a pretty mediocre record, you know? Like, if a 7 out of 10 is, like, a good, really, like, enjoyable record, like, the sort of record, you know, I've talked before, like, wow, that's, like, great, you know what I mean? A 7 out of 10 is a record that's really cool that you pull out and you enjoy, and you put it away and you don't regret it, you know what I mean? It's not the greatest thing ever, it has some flaws or whatever, but it's totally cool. So if that's a 7, then this is probably about a 6, you know? This one I'd sort of seen the cover of, and it looks so, I mean, it doesn't look like much of a metal record, you know? I don't know why this stuck in my head, but I came across this cheat not too long ago. This is kind of cool. See where they, like, cut the shrink so they could put the sticker on there? They screwed up the cover. Can you see the scratches in there? The shrink was actually still on it when I got it, but I remedied that. Anyway, you know, this record is really heavier than it looks, you know what I mean? It kind of looks like it's going to be just like some bar band or something. If you listen to this, they're trying to rock. You know, their singer is really good. And the songwriting isn't really all that. And, you know, it kind of has some wimpy moments and some moments that kind of make you wonder what the fuck they're thinking. But it's a pretty good record overall, you know? It's a solid 6 out of 10, you know? I've probably listened to this like 5 times now, you know? And it's interesting. Well, it's not that interesting, but I've been enjoying it. I don't know, here's another one. I decided to give it a chance. I got really hung up, actually, it's still sitting here. I got really hung up on the first Europe record again. It seems to happen to me like every 6 months where I just pull this out and play it every day for like a week. I pulled out the reissue of it this time. This is actually the first one I got. Then I upgraded it to an original, but this one's in a little bit better shape. So I sort of go back and forth on which ones I play. But this record is awesome, you know? By the way, the annoying thing about fucking having a Europe song stuck in your head, like In the Future to Come, which is usually the song that I get, although sometimes it's Children of This Time. And sometimes The King Will Return. God, this record is just so fucking good, man. Anyway, the thing is, like, if you're like, hey, if you're at work or whatever, you're like, ah, fuck it, this fucking Europe song stuck in my head. People always assume it's the fucking final countdown. And that's annoying, you know what I mean? It's like, you're starting at this deficit if you want to talk about it, so it's easy to just fucking not bring it up, you know what I mean? You know, it's like if you're at work. It's funny, it's like the little decisions you make when you're into this kind of shit, you know what I mean? It's like you're at work and someone says, yeah, I was listening to this Onslaught record, you know? Or maybe even like, yeah, I was listening to Ride the Lightning while I was doing some chores the other day. You'd be like, oh, hey, maybe engage them a little bit and sort of see if they like cool shit. But if they're talking about, like, the ultimate sin, like, you wait a little bit, you know what I mean? Because you don't end up in a conversation where you're, like, trying to pretend you give a shit about Rat or whatever other cornball bands the person who's not really into metal wants to talk about, you know. I have nothing against people who aren't really into metal. I mean, obviously, it's just, you know, if you're into metal and you like listen to this shit, it's not really fun to talk about Guns N' Roses, you know. First of all, I don't give a shit because they suck. And second of all, they're not really metal, you know what I mean? And it's like, if I tell someone I'm into metal and they want to talk about like Round and Round or something like that, I have to decide whether I want to say that is not an interesting band to talk about, or to say that is not even really a metal band. You know what I mean? Because they kind of are, you know. But it's like if you're into metal, it's not because of bands like Rat. It's because of bands like Merciful Fate. You know what I mean? And it's like you tolerate bands like Rat. Maybe even like bands like that a lot. But they're in your metal section because you have records by like Merciful Fate. You know what I mean? At least I hope you have records by Merciful Fate. Man, if not, I don't know what the hell you're doing here. Maybe hoping I'll show some jazz records or something like that. You know, if you're not into metal, it's been a pretty good couple months because I didn't show very much. And most of what I've showed has kind of been crap. Anyway, so I was going through and I was like looking for other shit that sort of had that Swedish magic, you know what I mean? Like that Europe record. And you know something? This one I finally fully got my head around. This record fucking rules, man. I've always liked Gotham City. I only had the first one for a long time with Ola Olsson, who's, I mean, really, you know, he's a really bad singer in a really awesome way, you know? I love him. But like, and like, if you find my videos entertaining, you'll probably appreciate him too, you know what I mean? But he's not a great singer, right? He's not even like a good singer, particularly. It's funny, they thank him here though. It says keep on rocking. Like, keep on rocking over there by yourself, you know? That's what it feels like with that on there. But the fact is, this is really a better record than Black Ritz. Black Ritz is cool, Black Ritz is fun, but this record's awesome. And this record, the other one has more sort of like homespun magic. This one has more like just pure Swedish magic, you know? This one definitely feels more sort of homemade than the Europe record does. Even on the first Europe record, the production's a lot better than, or at least more expensive than this, you know? But you still hear the magic. The hooks are there. The complexity's there. But it's not ever so complex that it's up itself, you know? Anyway, so I was hoping this record might appeal to me now, because I'm pretty sure these fucking guys were Swedish, too. Yeah. I don't know, man. I'll throw it on for a minute. Maybe I'll change my mind. I'm still trying to decide if I even like this fucking record. I definitely don't hate it. Okay? Ogre King by Keen Hugh. Sometimes I wonder, given how much I like sort of agonize over whether I like some of these records or not, I was wondering if you think that I feel like I have an obligation to like a record in some sort of weird way. Because I could see where I might give that impression. But the thing is, I totally don't, you know? But I also believe you don't necessarily have to like all your records. You know what I mean? Some of your records you might kind of have a little bit of a tense relationship with. I mean, that Scepter record I was showing last time, that record is not really my friend. You know? So Keen Hugh. I mean, it's called Ogre King. Keen Hugh is kind of not a very good name, right? Ogre King is kind of a very promising name. The cover is very good, except it might be a little bit jokey, you know what I mean? And that can be a bad sign, but sometimes a little bit jokey, especially on Euro metal records, you can get away with, you know? This is like, this label, they only did like 3 releases. They were related to like Ebony or something like that, I think it was. It was a sub-label called Criminal Response. And they put out like the Keen Hugh record, and then the Sad Wings record, and Saigon, I think, was the other one. It's basically Ebony quality stuff, you know what I mean? It's on the special label, so I sort of want them to be special, and they're kind of not, you know? And I don't really know why, because, I mean, Ebony Level really described these records pretty well, you know? You know what's funny about Ebony records? I think Ebony is a sort of label where it is what people think Mausoleum is. You know what I mean? Because there are a lot of records on Ebony that are just kind of fucking boring, you know? I wouldn't shit on the label as a whole like I would say Shrapnel, because I don't think like the underlying ethos underneath Ebony was just shit the way it was with Shrapnel, where it was all about the shredders and that bullshit. It's got this sort of Van Halen-ish. You know what's really missing from this record is the Swedish Magic, man. You know, it sounds kind of American, and it sounds good. The guy kind of has a Klaus Meine thing going, too, which I kind of like. That actually is a little bit less American. But the songwriting feels like it was a fair bit to Van Halen. Let's bump this. I just listened to this before, too, man. I can't make up my mind. It's like, I'll be listening to it going, oh, this is great, you know? And then I'd come back in here and sit down, and in a few minutes we're done. This is kind of crap. Yeah. But this record has some hooks. I'm gonna give the Keen Hugh. I'm gonna give the Ogre King another 6 out of 10 too. And you know something? When I pulled it out, I was in my head it was about a 4. So it's made its way up a couple points here. But it doesn't really have the Swedish Magic. You know what I mean? Here's another record. I wasn't even going to talk about this. But, sometimes you pull out a record you really love and it doesn't do anything for you. This record, I was listening to this record and kind of going, I can hear why I like this record when I'm in the mood for it. But right now I'm not enjoying it at all. So it's a really cool piece, I mean, it's a hard record to get. Warrior, Trouble. Yeah, it looks great. It's not as sort of Manowar-ish as it looks. It's a little bit more sort of straight ahead, but it's a really cool record, and it's just awesome. I'm really proud of that record. But I wasn't in the mood for it at all, I did play this recently. This is like sort of the hangover from my big, I guess it was a goth kick, more or less. But I finally found a fucking Gary Newman record I was looking for. You know what's so funny? Here's a lesson for the kids. Back in the day, back when I was your age, it used to be if you were wearing the earring in your right ear, it meant you were gay. So, when I got my ear pierced, it was just my left ear. Because, there was actually never a point in my life when I had a problem with gay people. In fact, one thing I would say is that I think that boomers talked a good game about being cool to gay people. I think Gen X really did it. That's one thing. I think usually it's between millennials and the boomers as far as, who had an impact on society. But I kind of think Gen X blazed the trail as far as being cool to gay people. So I'll give us a little credit for that. Anyway, regardless, because no one gives a shit now. I mean, that's actually the point of all this. Is what a silly thing it was that anyone even think about that. There's actually an expression I learned when I was living in Germany. It's in the 80s. It was links ist cool, rechts ist schwul. So anyway, Gary Newman. And something, I really like this record. I mean, it's a pop record for sure. But I don't know, man, I'm just into the synth sounds, I just enjoy that, and it isn't so cretinous, it doesn't have the, what it is? It sounds like pop, but it doesn't necessarily sound like dance music, And I'm sure you could dance to this if you, know how to dance. But, it just doesn't, have that sort of cretin quality, you know what I mean? And it's funny because, I mean, he's totally a fucking cretin. Look at him, you know what I mean? But he's a cretin in the right way. I'm on board with Gary Newman's cretinism, It's funny because I like to point to the Human League as another example of one of those bands that I like, And actually my sort of quip about the Human League is that I like the synth sound on Fascination. I don't like the synth sound on Don't You Want Me. You know what I mean? Because that's really a dividing line, you know what I mean? It's really sort of retrospectively I sort of appreciate the primitive 80s synths more the way I kind of always have, the 60s, the 70s ones. But I was so scarred by the trauma of having lived through the 80s that it took me until maybe just a few years ago that I could really tolerate 80s synth sounds at all anymore. This is an unusually rambly video, even by my standards. I'm giving it that fucking Gary Newman record is probably the only one that anyone other than me has heard of. It feels pretty fucking self-indulgent. So if you're still watching, thanks for hanging in there. Well, I'll show you another kind of shitty record that also doesn't have the Swedish Magic. Maybe that's what I'll call this video. Swedish records that don't have the Swedish Magic. Because this one really doesn't quite have it, man. That's kind of a shame, because it's not a bad record. It's really... I don't know if I want to call it a 5 out of 10. It's probably another 6 out of 10. It's really pretty okay. It's not as bikerish as it looks, as, that's what they're sort of going for. Of course, neither are they, But, it would be misleading to say this has an AC/DC vibe, I think. But if you listen to it, I think you'd hear it. It has some of that sort of looseness and that sort of the open sound that you get with the AC/DC, which is sort of the well-used riffs and that sort of thing. This isn't like that, where it's all just Chuck Berry rooted shit, but it has some of that sort of feel as far as the aesthetic of that. It's a really loose-sounding record, which is already not very Swedish, really. You know what I mean? These records tend to be tight and meticulous, and that's part of why they're so charming when they're so garagey. When they have production quality like this. You know what I mean? It's they learned to do all this stuff even though they didn't have a recording budget. Anyway, this record is definitely looser than that. The musicianship probably isn't as good, but I don't really give a shit about that. Um, you know, it's a good record. It's not great. And I don't know, man. Maybe the water's bad in Horndal in Sweden, but I shouldn't be so bummed. But like when I'm specifically looking for the Swedish Magic and these records are like letting me down, it's kind of a bummer. But you know what? A record that never lets me down is this fucker right here. I don't know why, but they pulled this on Fantasia. You know, this might be the best fucking rainbow record in my estimation. I mean, I tend to say Rising is, and the one that I'm actually kind of is the closest to my heart is that first one, because that was the first one I got into. But you know, probably half that record is a little bit on the lame side. You know, or even if it's like sort of good, it's good because like you would assimilate it to the point where it feels good to you. You know what I mean? Whereas this one just feels like a stronger record as far as the songs that, you know. Yeah, I mean, Rainbow Eyes is kind of like the corny sort of closer, but, you know, Kill the King is so strong. Long Live Rock and Roll. Gates of Babylon. This record just doesn't relent. Yeah, you listen to a record like this, and it's like, it may seem silly today that a record like this was considered heavy metal, but for as much of a punch as this still packs, if you like just turn the fucker up a little bit, you know, it's not that far away. What else did I have here to talk about? You know, it's fun. I had some records. Here's some other shit that I listened to recently. I've played this a few times. I still don't love it as much as Marty Worm, but it is a great record. I played this a couple times. This is just like, me playing this is like, it's like me when I was 18 playing Paranoid. I played it all the time, you know what I mean? So, although, yeah, you know something, I'm going to go down another fucking philosophical rabbit hole. This record I was late to, man. This record is so fucking good. People were telling me for years, and I had a copy a long time ago. This is my second copy of it. It's a Roadrunner. The first one I had was a Neat, and I let it go because I didn't think much of it. But something just clicked, man. This band was just onto something really fucking special. I'm pretty sure they're Danish, too. Yeah, you know something? I guess Denmark was pretty good for metal. They're pretty good. I was thinking about Norway and going, you know, Sweden kind of killed everybody. It's like, you know, but Denmark kind of held their own, you know. And not just because of Merciful Fate either, because it's easy to do that, right? I pulled this one out too. You know, this one might be becoming my favorite Sodom record. I don't know. I'm still kind of inclined towards Persecution Mania. It's weird. I feel like I've rediscovered Sodom because I always start at the beginning with the band and sort of move forward. You know what I mean? And honestly, I was really into In the Sign of Evil, but what the fuck is the one called with the skull? Obsessed by Cruelty was just so impenetrable that I sort of never like proceeded beyond it for like kind of a long time. You'd be surprised how recently I got like Persecution Mania and Agent Orange. But those records, it's almost like a different band, you know what I mean? It's like that first one is like some bullshit record that I would like hold up and laugh about, and you all would like go on Discogs and go, it's $400, forget it. You know, and that would be that, you know? I think you'd be right to do it because it kind of sucks. But, and then Obsessed by Cruelty is like a missing link in like what led up to like Mayhem and that kind of black metal, and then it's just like a different band. And then it's like the actual band Sodom starts. It almost feels like to me, you know, it's a weird progression. It's funny because I've liked Sodom for a long time, but I was going to say I think maybe I didn't understand him until recently, but I think I understood Sodom just fine. It's just a different kind of understanding, I suppose. What else do we have here? Here's another one, man. I've tried so hard to get into this record. Axe Witch sucks, man. I have this one, and I have that EP, Pray for Metal. And that one's a little bit better than this one, but man, I put this on, and I don't even notice there's a fucking record playing. It's so dull. I don't know what it is, man. This thing has so much going for it, too. It's on Fingerprint. They're Swedish. You know, the cover is, I mean, not great. You know what I mean? Like, in concept, it's kind of dead on, but the execution is flawed, you know? So, you know, like they could come up with a better typeface for Lord of the Flies, right? So, you know, I really want to like this record, man, but it's just not that fucking good. I really want it to be. Maybe I'll come back someday and decide it is, but it doesn't. Maybe it's not fair to say it doesn't sound magical if I don't like it. And this one is probably closer to Swedish Magic than those other ones. But it doesn't have it, man. It just doesn't fucking have it. I don't know. Now, I hear a couple other ones that do have it that I also played. So we're just going to do this fucking... what the hell, I'm just talking about whatever. Fucking Heavy Load, of course. Of course, everyone knows Heavy Load, right? I love Heavy Load. Heavy Load, as far as I'm concerned, didn't make a bad record, except maybe their first record. That's probably their weakest one. All their, like, fucking epic metal ones, though. This one, especially Death or Glory, but that EP, too. All just fucking great shit. Heavy and dedicated, and, you know, doing their damnedest to deliver on this fucking cover. That's what this record is. Like, if you want what this is fucking selling, then you're not going to be disappointed. And if you don't want what this cover is selling, then you're probably not going to like this one either. Because this one's like the same sort of thing, only bad. Actually, I'm just kind of kidding. You know what's funny is this kind of does have that Swedish magic, and it's not very good. This is probably another 6 out of 10, this record. This one, it really depends a lot on when it hits me. Like, I probably paid this record like maybe 10 times since I bought it like 20 years ago. For like $3 at a local shop when I was living in LA. Actually, I think I might have coughed up 6 for this one. Anyway, of like the 10 times I probably played it, I think 7 times I thought it was crap. Twice I thought it was good, and once I loved it. So, it's grown on me with time. It's very synthy and really kind of wimpy. I mean, see, and that's kind of the thing, is like, it kind of isn't delivering on what it's promising there. I mean, it's kind of delivering more like on what this guy is offering with that fucking pose right there. You see what I'm saying? It's like, it says this, but it really offers this. That's Biscaya for you. It's really not a bad record though, man. If you see this for like $6, grab it. It's kind of fun. You know what I mean? I wish it were better. It's very synth heavy, which is part of why it took me so long to get into it. That was probably 5 out of those 7 times, in fairness. Just that it was too synth heavy for me. I almost traded it away a couple times, too, in fact. It's sort of a miracle it's still here. Although I probably would have regretted it and rebought it. I'd be showing you another copy saying, oh, this is my second copy of this fucking record. Like I already did with the Artillery record just today. Hey, here's another gem I want to hype, because this one's actually really fucking good. Oh man, I had a few others I was going to talk about too. I'm getting close to half. Fuck it, I'll just keep going. I pulled out some Chicago shit. Yeah, you know something? Here we go, man. It's fucking counterintuitive. I said I've been in a weird mood. Here's a record that I was fucking not into at all when I played it. This record, I played it twice. I didn't really enjoy it at all. I like Warrant. I think the LP is better than this one. But, I mean, come on. You know? So, in the early days of eBay, when I sort of went on there, I just went looking for, like, everything I remember, like, when I'd seen when I was, like, a teenager. I either didn't have the money for, or, like, just didn't want at the time. And I was just buying it all up because it was all cheap. This was one of the first ones I went for, man. So, but it's just not that fucking good. At least it didn't hit me, right? I wasn't in the mood for it, you know? I gotta show them, because they're still fucking good. They still deserve it, right? But you know what record I played twice and was really into? It was fucking this cheeseball turd. Fucking Axe Nemesis, right? How many times have you passed on this for $1? My answer is at least like 80 or 90 times, but one time I fucking bought it. I might have even bought it more than once, but I only have one copy now. Yeah, so this is another kind of wimpy one, man. I pulled some Chicago shit because I was talking about this one with Eric Bauer. Like half my fucking videos are like, oh, I was talking with Eric Bauer, I was talking with Scott Waters. I was talking with Eric Bauer about this fucking Slaughter Extroyas. There's a new reissue of this floating around. If you haven't heard this, you fucking need it. Because this is really one of the greatest records ever. It's like super epic. Almost like a little bit of a southern rock sound in the singer a little bit. You know what I mean? He sort of reminds me of the guy from Street Child a little bit. Except he definitely has a higher voice than that. You know, he's a high tenor, not like a baritone like the other dude. I mixed all my shit up now. Yeah, anyway, there's another one here that I wanted to sort of sample. I mixed up all my shit now. I'm getting confused here. Yeah, okay, so Slaughter Extroyas, man, just fucking check it out. That's one of the ones where, like, I'll stake my reputation on it. And I'll tell you something else about Slaughter Extroyas. It took me a little while for that one to grow on me. That was sort of a creep of a record. I appreciated it right away. But I didn't really fall in love with it until I listened to it a few times. And I was like, holy fuck, is this great. Yeah, so I pulled out that Devastation run. So I was looking at Chicago shit. Ugh. And since I was kind of enjoying like the wimpier stuff, I was like, well, this record's a little bit wimpy. Oh, hang on, my leg fell asleep. This record's kind of wimpy, so maybe this one will hit the spot. You know, something that's not bad. I mean, it's kind of wimpy. Devastation run. It's like there are 4 songs on this thing. Okay, you know what it is? It's like these guys had enough like rockin' like good material for a 45, and they said, hey, let's make a 4-song EP. You know what I mean? And none of it's bad. It's like they spread it out evenly, you know what I mean? But there are like heavier parts and sort of wussier parts, and like it you know, if it were a little more rock and a little less sort of you know, dancing on thin ice, then I wouldn't object. But it's a cool record, man, and it's an Ironworks one that I actually learned about because someone told me about it in the comments once of one of my videos. I don't remember who it was, so apologies for not shouting you out. But yeah, there aren't a lot of Ironworks records that you can still get for like $20. So. Yeah, I pulled this one out too because it's a Chicago one. It's funny because this is like if Devastation Run were really, really good, it would sound like Ironhawk. So this record's great too. I mean, it's kind of wimpy. It's kind of AOR-y. This is my second copy because the first time I got it, I hated it. I traded it away. I've probably told this story, but I traded it for that Zen Venom record because I figured I'd see another, living in the U.S., I would see another Ironhawk before I saw another Zen Venom. And I did. I was right. So, yeah. I don't know. It's funny. I don't know if I'd recommend this for everyone just because it's kind of, I mean, honestly, it's kind of expensive for what it is. Because it's not really that heavy, you know what I mean? It's just sort of good songs, but it really rocks. It's good. But this is the one I wanted to hype. That's sort of like the gem today. Because I just sort of looked into this record, but they weren't really on my radar until kind of recently. It's this band called Orphan, I think out of New York. And this is 83. And you know, this isn't Merciful Fate, but this is pretty rockin'. This has some good hooks, doesn't it? I'm totally on board with that riff. This sort of has that looseness I was talking about, where I was trying to invoke AC/DC with earlier. This isn't what Burn sounds like, but if you hear how this sort of has some of that sort of... I don't want to say slop, just sort of, you know, that AC/DC vibe. This kind of has it in the same sort of way. It is a lot better than Burn, though, honestly. It's just 3 songs, and as far as I know, this is all they ever did. Recorded in Connecticut, mixed in New York. I don't know, maybe they're from Connecticut. I'm inclined to think they're another fucking Long Island band, though. So, anyway, Orphan. That's kind of my find of the month. Well, I think it's been more than a month since I got it. I don't know. Obviously, I don't keep very good track of this kind of shit. But at least I don't keep track of it using Discogs. I keep it all right here. Maybe a little faulty. I just fucking All right. Don't forget, go grab a copy of this while you can. If it's gone out of print, then wait until it comes back into print or something. Because someone will print out more of those, because people know about that record now. But that's really one of the greatest fucking records ever. All right. Thanks for watching. I'm trying to think of words to close with, but I've got nothing, so we'll just leave it there. Thanks for tuning in. This is people have been asking about the videos occasionally. This is one on, I don't even remember what it is, but it's on my channel, my favorite channel, Occult Demon Cassette. It's called, look up that channel, Occult Demon Cassette, and he has a whole bunch of shit like this on there, you know. So, all right, thanks for watching. Until next time.